In this video, I'm going to work through a couple examples of translating linear functions. So here are the directions. Let g of x be the indicated transformation of f of x. Write the rule for g of x. Now where it says write the rule, that we're going to write the equation, we're going to write the function of g of x. So, and where it says let g of x be the indicated transformation of f of x. So we're going to take f of x and we're going to transform it, and then we'll end up with g of x. We're looking for g of x. But through f of x is equal to x minus 2, a horizontal translation, left 3 units. So I have f of x. So I'm going to take the original f of x and I'm going to change it. And since it's a horizontal translation, I have this blank space in here because since it's a horizontal translation, we're going to add or subtract a number inside of the parentheses. And the weird thing about this is it's the opposite of what you think it would be. If you're going to shift left, it's going to be a plus 3. So we're shifting left, so it's going to be a plus 3. And if you shift right, you're going to actually subtract the number. And this is going to be the case for all transformations. When the number is inside the parenthesis, it's always going to be the opposite of what you think it would be. Because if you think that if it would be left, you'd be subtracting 3. So in this instance, you're going to add 3. Okay, so we have. Now I am going to repeat this one more time. We had our original, and then we changed it by f of x plus 3. And that gets me to my new function, which is equal to the old function, but instead of x, we have x plus 3. Now I'm going to take f of x plus 3, and I'm going to put it into our first function, except we are going to replace x with x plus 3. We're going to replace x with x plus 3. And when I do that, you can see I still have like the same equation, and I use my parentheses, but I replace the x over here with an x plus 3, and then I put my negative 2 on the end. And as I just reduced here, you can get rid of the parentheses because there's nothing in front of them, nothing multiplied or anything. So x plus 3 minus 2 gives us x plus 1, and g of x is our rule. Now you can see here, g of x is equal to x plus 1, and that's all the farther that we would need to go, because they just asked us to write the rule for g of x, and that's what we have here. But I am going to go one step further, and I'm going to graph both g of x and f of x so that we can visualize what is happening. We can actually see the translation, so I just think it helps us understand it a little bit more. So the red line here, the red line is our g of x, that is x plus 1. The blue line, that is our f of x, that is x minus 2. So they told us that we were going to need to translate horizontally left 3. So I'm going to put a point right here, and we're going to go left 3 units. 1, 2, 3. That's 3 units to the left. We'll go up here once. 1, 2, 3. So as you can see, everywhere that we go, we translated 3 units to the left. So, on the first page of your notes, there is the recipes for transformations. And you're going to want to put this one in there because here is your recipe for horizontal translations. And how this is a f of x minus h. So if we have a positive number that goes in there, it'll be, so let's say it's a positive 1, it'll be x minus 1. Now if we put a negative number in there, it'll come out a positive. You know that 2 negatives make a positive. So now we're going to do another example, but this will be with vertical translation. So they say, let g of x be the indicated transformation of f of x. Write the rule for g of x. So if f of x is equal to x minus 2, we're going to need to do the vertical translation down 3 units. And vertical translations compared to horizontal translations are much simpler, actually. So here, I'm going to take my original function, and I'm going to change it by f of x what? So if I want to go down 3, I'm just going to simply just subtract 3. And it doesn't have to be inside the parentheses. We're going to tack the negative 3 onto the end. And we're going down. We can keep it a negative. That makes sense. If we go up, it's going to be a positive. And if you notice that when we do the horizontal translation, we put the number inside of the parentheses. Having the number on the inside and having the number on the outside, those are two completely different graphs, so you need to be very careful of that. Now, we have g of x is equal to f of x minus 3. So g of x, that's what we're looking for, is g of x again. Same thing as before. And so g of x is equal to this. Is that same thing. Now what's our next step going to be? We're going to replace f of x with, or x with x minus 2. So x minus 2 minus 3. And so our final rule is g of x is equal to x minus 5. Real quick here, guys, I want to graph both of these functions as well, just so we can see the graph and like see the translations happening, just so we can get a better understanding of what they're doing. So here's our graph, and the blue one I have f of x, x minus 2, and the green one down here I have g of x, x minus 5. And our translation, I mean, was we were gonna go down 3, and so if no matter where I go on here, if I grab my pen and I go down 3 units, I'm shifting down 3 units. Anywhere I go, we're going down 3 in every single spot. So that means that we did our translation correctly. Here is our recipe for vertical translations. F of x changes to f of x plus k. So on this one, it's a plus k on the outside. Now make sure that if it's vertical, you're doing it on the outside of the parenthesis. If it's horizontal, you're going to do it on the inside of the parenthesis.